I'm Frank Lee, and this is an odd adventure. This adventure was kicked off after reading a headline from KUTV that stated, "Summer rains bring acid squirting land lobster from hell in Texas." Within seconds of reading this headline, I knew I had to investigate. So I grabbed my go bag and hopped in my personal helicopter and made my way down to Big Bend National Park, where these monstrosities were more than likely killing civilians as I flew. After setting an airspeed record, I landed right at the front door of the Panther Junction Visitor Center just 4 minutes after taking off from my mountain fortress in Colorado. I jumped out of my chopper and headed directly inside. One of the staff asked if they could help me. So I asked, "What do you know about the acid squirting lobsters?" Surprised by my question, the 18-year-old stared wide-eyed and amazed at my physical superiority. When I didn't receive an answer, I politely informed the worker that I, Frank Lee, adventurer extraordinaire, was likely the only person that could save this ravaged land from monstrosities that were undoubtedly wreaking havoc on this beautiful national park. After a few moments of awkward stares, the park worker radioed for the park rangers, no doubt to provide the information I sought. The fear of these creatures made the employee weep with greater intensity each of the 14 times I asked, "What do you know about the land lobsters?" When the rangers finally arrived, they pulled me away from the weeping park employee, who was now cowering in a corner just at the thought of the lobsters. They asked me if there was anything they could help me with. I politely informed them that the only help they could provide was information about the acid-squirting lobster, because they would more than likely die if they tried to help me stop them. One of the rangers let out a boisterous laugh at my statement. Clearly intimidated by my obvious skill and intelligence, the rangers started telling me that the lobster was actually a creature called the vinegaroon, a small scorpion-like creature that grows up to 3 inches and sprays an acidic substance out of its whip-like tail that is similar to vinegar. In that instant, I realized that these rangers were just out to steal the glory of stopping this ungodly assault on the citizens of this world. So I calmly asked them where I might find one of these vinegaroons. It even sounded like a made-up name. They told me that my best bet during the heat of the day to find one of these creatures would be right next to the Rio Grande River on the border of Mexico. Upon hearing this, I realized I had to stop this invasion from reaching Mexico. So I ran to my chopper and fired it up. The park rangers tried telling me that I wasn't allowed to take my chopper that close to Mexico, to which I politely informed them that I, Frank Lee, am not bound by airspace laws because of my contributions towards stopping the Gobble Squatch some years back. They then tried to physically stop me from getting in my chopper, which was frankly a huge mistake. Utilizing the hand-to-hand combat skills I perfected in London, I immobilized the 2 rangers and set off on the hunt. Not knowing what to expect, I made sure to bring along some appropriate toys to deal with these monsters. After I touched down at the Rio Grande River, I set out to find my prey. I made my way to the river and started prodding the dark holes my target was likely hiding in. My 3rd hole, I hit the jackpot. I shoved a burning stick into the hole, and a dozen lobsters came out immediately. I noticed that the largest ones were barely over 2 inches long and were wildly spraying their acid everywhere. And this is where it gets odd. In an attempt to corral them, I grabbed an empty Pringles can from my ruck and scooped most of them up. I spent the next 3 hours dissecting and inspecting these creatures for weaknesses. A highly scientific taste test revealed their acid to be tangy and somewhat bitter. The taste reminded me of the candy Grandmother Lee made for my 5th wedding. After realizing that the bastards at KUTV lied to me about the severity of this threat, I decided to take a different course of action. I spent the next 2 hours searching for more vinegaroons, collecting them in my Pringles can. I hopped back in my chopper and fired up the engines. Just after the engine started, I heard a call come over the police scanner asking for updates in the search for a crazed maniac who had attacked 2 park rangers near Big Bend National Park earlier that day. Since manhunts aren't my specialty, I decided I would just pack it in and call it a day. I made a stop at the KUTV home office before leaving Texas and punched the entire staff in the face for reporting such clickbait crap. I flew low and slow eastward out of Texas, making sure to avoid the search area the police had set up. I didn't want to interfere with their efforts to apprehend a dangerous criminal that was attacking law enforcement officials. When I made it home, I set up a perfect habitat for my newly acquired pets, where I would have ready access to their irresistible nectar. I may have been misled about the threat of these creatures, but at least I have a delicious snack. I'm Frank Lee, and this has been an odd adventure. Have a wonderful day!